Welcome to Real Estate Secrets Unlocked, the podcast that takes you inside the minds of the industry's top professionals, revealing their top secrets to success. I'm your host, Danielle Damianov. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, get ready to learn the latest trends, strategies, and secrets that will help you succeed. Join us as we go beyond the basics and explore what it takes to make it in the world of real estate. So buckle up and get ready for a wild ride. This is Real Estate Secrets Unlocked. Hey everybody, it's Danielle Damianov with Real Estate Secrets Unlocked, and I am here today with Kai Logue, a fellow Apex member. I'm super excited to have you here. He is also a real estate investor and entrepreneur. And so I'm really excited for him to share his knowledge with everybody about real estate investing for anybody that's looking to get into real estate investing. So thank you, Kai, for being on.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm super excited to be here and be on your podcast. So rock and roll.
That's awesome. So tell everybody a little bit, I guess, about like what you do and how you got started.
Yeah, for sure. So mostly what I do is wholesaling. So I've done some fix and flips as well, but primarily we're focusing on wholesaling just because it's not easy. I guess I wouldn't say easier, but it's simpler and less headaches and surprises. But yeah, so basically what wholesaling is, if anyone in your audience doesn't know, it's basically, I'm getting a property under contract and I'm selling that contract to another investor. And so really it's just sales and marketing. And we do that. I've been doing it full time for about 2 years now, and we now do it virtually. So we're in a few different markets. We do deals in Texas, Florida, Georgia, California. We've done a few, Washington. I'm sure there's a few I'm missing, but yeah, I love it. I've done sales and marketing my whole life. So once I found out that wholesaling existed and it was an easy way for people to get into real estate investing, I decided to jump in and go all in.
Yeah, so I can, wholesaling is obviously the way to go because there's not as much risk. If you're getting into like a fix and flip or anything like that, obviously there's a lot more work. And the wholesaling, you can make really good money. So us personally, we do fix and flips. And I just closed on a deal recently where the wholesaler made, $20,000 and didn't do anything. So to give people a little bit of an idea as to how it works, Kai goes out, finds properties under value, right? And then gets that property under contract, and then he'll go ahead and assign it to somebody else for an assignment fee. And so in the deal, for example, that we just did, just using round numbers, they got it under contract for $150. They sold the property to me for $170. They did not close on it. I closed on it at the $170, and at closing, the seller got their $150, the wholesaler got their $20,000, and I got the home for $170. So that's kind of in a nutshell, like how wholesaling works. So tell me a little bit about where are you finding your deals?
Yeah, so really we do a few different things, but what works best for us is getting data like directly from the county. So for example, here in San Antonio, we can just go right to the BREH County website, and you can go to the county assessor, and then you can just download a whole list of all like the code violations. So code violations, those are different issues they're having, that they're, the property could be vacant, it could be look like it's condemned, or they could just have really long weeds, or they have trash everywhere, extra junk cars. So usually not all the code violations, you do have to go through and like they'll say what type of code violation it is, and you have to kind of clean up the list a bit. But not all of them, but a lot of them point to distress. So there's usually somebody does one thing is how they do everything. So if they're not keeping up with the outside of the house, or they're getting in trouble month after month with the city for not cutting their lawn, there could be more issues going on. So that could be a sign they're distressed. So we use that list, and then we'll market to those people. And we do a lot of like SMS and voicemail drops, and we do cold calling too, and just reach out and ask if they want to sell.
Okay, awesome. So then you're basically just going to the county websites, finding people that have code violations, and then sending them text messages, voicemail drops, and cold calling and things like that to try and get them under contract.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so yeah, that's really it. And it's just yeah, just being persistent and following up with the people and it's really just fishing trying to find the right one.
Exactly. So, and that's the first step in wholesaling, right? The first step in wholesaling is finding the deals, right? So
Hmm.
first you have to like have a whole plan in place to go out and find the deals. You're doing it in San Antonio. You mentioned you're doing it in other states. How hard is it to do it in other states when you're not physically there to look at the properties, or do you have people in other states that are going out to the properties?
Yeah, so when I first started wholesaling, I'd go out, even here now, I won't go look at properties most of the time, unless it's one we're gonna do ourselves. But yeah, it was just very time consuming. So I'd find a deal and then, I'd have to drive across town, and San Antonio is huge. So it could take like 40 minutes, without traffic to get to one side to the other. So I drive 40 minutes one way, I'd look at the property and the guy wasn't super serious. And, obviously I probably should have did a better job vetting them. But sometimes, especially when you're first starting, you just want to get out there and see the house and talk to the guy. But I kept having that happen. I'd waste like whole days and it was very frustrating. And then I'd do that, find out the guy wanted way too much. So I decided, I'm like, oh, how are the bigger companies doing it? Like, Open Door, a lot of the iBuyers, Zillow, and they're buying, and they're not going to see anything. They're just literally having the customer take pictures or they're sending someone out to take pictures. And I decided, hey, let's try that. And then so I did it here in my own market. And I'm like, oh, that's great. That worked. I'm like, what if I can just do this? If I can, don't have to go see it, I can do it anywhere. So then we identified other markets we did anywhere. So honestly, I don't think it's any harder. I think it's easier because it saves you time. And it's really just making sure you have strong communication skills with people on the phone. And, they're usually pretty happy to take pictures. And if not, we'll hire like another realtor because my wife's a realtor. And, usually like to hire realtors who would take pictures because they're, more professional than some random guy off Craigslist. But it's usually what works best. Or we also use TaskRabbit and we'll hire photographers up there too.
Oh, okay. And so then how are you doing your valuations? Are you using a real estate agent or are you doing
Yeah.
just basically doing them yourself?
Yeah. So we're physically doing it ourselves. So my wife usually handles that. So she is a realtor. So we have access to RPR. So we'll go in, use RPR and just run all the comps. And then, if you don't have access to that, like you can use sites like PropStream and other ones. As long as it's not a non-disclosure state, it's usually pretty easy to figure out how to run comps and do them yourself.
Right, absolutely. So I guess what would you say the biggest challenges, and then we'll talk about like the second half of wholesaling in a minute, which is finding
Mhm.
people to buy your deals and get them under contract. What would you say the biggest challenge is, I guess, for people looking to just get started in the wholesaling? And then even as you get more advanced, into it, what are you facing?
Yeah, I think really the hardest thing is when you're first starting is just sticking with it. And especially if you don't have, previous sales and marketing experience, it can be hard. It's definitely not easy. A lot of people like influencers and people on TikTok just say, oh, it's so easy, you can make all this money. And you can make a lot of money, but it's not easy. It is simple, but it's not easy. It does take a lot of work. It takes a lot of persistence. You have to deal with a lot of rejection. So I think really just staying in the game until you get your first deal. It took me close to 60 days to get my first deal, and then we barely made like $1,000, like $1,100. And I'm like, wow, this sucks because I invested a bunch of money and all this time, and then I didn't make any money. And but luckily I'm stubborn, so I kept going. And then on the next one we did, it was basically it was the wholesale deal we got, but we ended up like wholetailing it, which is basically you just buy it yourself, you close on it, and then it's you don't really have to do any work and you just sell it. So we did that and then we made, over 60 grand. So I'm like, oh, cool, this is great now. So really the biggest thing is just to keep going because it could be 3 feet from gold.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that persistence. So the biggest part is basically in the beginning getting the deals, right? Finding the deals.
Hmm.
And then the second half of it is because you're going under contract on these properties and you're putting money in escrow, correct?
Yeah, and usually not a lot though. Like we'll do like $10 or $100, like earnest money.
Oh wow. Okay. So my market, I don't know if that would fly.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot
But
of people think it doesn't. Sometimes they'll give you a little pushback. But I'll just tell them like, hey, it's we do a lot of deals and we just can't lock up a lot of earnest money, because it stops us from doing other deals.
right.
And usually sellers are fine. It's just all how you communicate it. But yeah, sometimes they will want a little bit more, and then we can do that. But 95% of the time, and all the markets we're in, we're able to do it that way.
That's awesome. So now your second, half of it, how long are you getting these under contract for? Is it a 30-day, 45, 60-day close?
Usually 30 days or less. It really depends. Sometimes it could be more. It's really whatever the seller wants. So really one of the big reasons is they want to go with us and not like with a traditional realtor is one, either the house needs a lot of work they don't want to do, or two, they just want the convenience and they don't want to deal with open houses and people walking through their house and having to deal with fighting people over prices and negotiating. They just want to be done. So really we try to make it very convenient for the seller. That's always our main goal, is to help them accomplish what they're looking to do. So yeah, it's really depends. If they were like, hey, we got to be out of here in 2 weeks, typically tell me, hey, you probably need at least 3 weeks, unless like I already know we have a buyer there. But yeah, it really depends. But on average, I'd say it's close to like 30 days is usually what we're doing.
Okay. And so second part of that is now you're under contract, you got your money tied up in escrow, you have to find the end buyer. So what are some of the strategies that you're doing or using to find that end buyer?
Yeah, so it's kind of like similar, but it's just like the reverse way. So we'll actually pull data from different like sites like PropStream, or you can actually get them from the county too, and find who the cash buyers are. So again, then we'll just pull a whole list of all the cash buyers. Usually it's people who've done at least like 2 or 3 deals in the last like 12 months. And then we'll get a list of them, and then we'll reach out to them with texts and calls and voicemail drops and say, hey, I saw you recently bought a property here. Are you still looking to buy? And then if they are, great, we'll talk to them, make sure they're a legitimate person, and then we'll send them over the deal and or the contract and see if they're interested. And if they are, they put down non-refundable earnest money with title, and that's really it. And then you just follow up with title and make sure they have what they need and help to get the deal to the finish line.
Yeah, absolutely. So on average, how much would you say, and maybe you don't know, but how many deals or how many, people are you reaching out to in order to get like one deal?
It's a lot. So I do need to get better with my KPIs. But I'd say on average, it's probably like, so we get like a list of 1,000, and we'll text blast them and we'll go through them. Out of that, like we'll probably get like maybe 2 or 3 solid leads, depending on the market, and it's different everywhere. But like I say on average, yeah, it's probably like 2 or 3 leads, and then probably 1 out of 5 will close. So probably like every 2,000 records or so, we'll get like a solid deal for sure.
And that's coming from like basically pulling code violations. That's not talking about cash buyers.
Yeah, that's for getting the seller deals, yeah. And then buyers, it's usually, as long as it's a good deal and it's you actually have it at a discount, or you structured it somehow like seller financing or sub to you, like as long as the deal that investor wants, you'll be able to move it.
Right. So let's actually, you just brought up a subject to. Are you doing any subject twos? And if so, can you explain a little bit to everybody what subject to means?
Yeah, so we're wholesaling everything though, so we're not really keeping it for ourselves. But subject to is basically, you're buying it subject to the existing mortgage. So somebody, they have a house, maybe they just bought it and all of a sudden they had financial issues come up and they can't afford it. Basically, the loan would stay in their name and you would just be responsible for making the payments, but you would still get the deed to the property. And then that's been, attractive for an investor because they don't have to use their own credit. They don't have to get another loan out. The loan's not even in their name, and they own a property.
Absolutely. And I mean, the other good thing with that is we know how low interest rates have been over the past couple of years. So yeah, I mean, the benefit to subject to financing for the real estate investor, with interest rates being so low, is that they're getting it at a low rate. If the people have gotten the mortgage recently, the benefit to the home seller is that if they were going into foreclosure and haven't been making their mortgage payments and everything else, I mean, foreclosure, that's 7 years on your credit. And if you're getting a conventional loan, you're not able to buy another home with a conventional loan for 7 years. For an FHA loan, it's 4. So, having that foreclosure can really hurt somebody. If an investor comes in, takes over their mortgage, pays all of those back owed dues, gets them current, and makes their mortgage payments for them for the next, year or two, that's going to build their credit back up for them. So that's a huge benefit to them. Because, when I first started hearing about subject to, I was like, wait, what would be the benefit to the seller? Because it's kind of a risk, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's really it is okay, now I'm gonna be able to move on from this and have have somebody else make my mortgage payments to build the credit back up.
Mhm.
Um,
And
so
yeah, and another scenario too is just if they like don't have any equity yet, if they bought recently and maybe they're military family and they get relocated and they have to, or for some reason they get a new job and they have to move like right away and they can't sell their house because they don't have equity without taking a huge loss. That's another way that Sub 2 can also help them.
that's true. I never even thought about that. That's really good. So you recently had a live event I saw
Mhm.
on Facebook. Tell me a little bit about that, like how it went, what you guys talked about and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was our first big live event we did. And definitely my wife Bree made the whole thing possible. She's great at managing and running things. But yeah, went super smooth. We had close to 100 people there. I know we sold over 100 tickets, but some people weren't able to make it. So, but I think we still had close to 100, and we had a whole bunch of speakers, and like 95% of them were in Apex, and other people were just the other speakers were just some real estate people I know. And yeah, but no, it was great, and yeah, we're definitely excited to do the next one.
That's awesome. What were some of the topics that you guys went over?
It's pretty much all wholesaling. But we went like we had Doug Mitchell come in and he talked about sales. Because I think a lot of like businesses, business is business when you break it down. One thing, if you know sales, you can apply it somewhere else. So, he's great at like doing door to doors and building great sales teams. So yeah, he was there. We had Big Marv come and talk about marketing. And I think pretty much everything else was wholesaling or we had Adam Lyons there as well, just talking about the right way to set up your business. um, and what else do we have? So we had one of my mentors come in and talk about cash money, Mike Termini. He came and talked about seller financing and doing creative deals. And yeah, I just talked about wholesaling and the strategies we're using to get deals.
That's awesome. So what are some of the systems that you use? I know with us, I was using PropStream for a while. Not
Mhm.
really. I mean, I like the way PropStream worked. What I didn't like was the numbers were not that great.
Right.
So I switched over to batch leads, and find that I'm, getting more accurate numbers from batch leads.
Mhm.
I
Is that
also
for the skip tracing or like the?
for skip tracing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, so I went back and forth with Batch and PropStream. I still use Batch mostly to skip trace, but we just tested out a new one because I'm still not super happy with Batch skip tracing because it's some none of them are always accurate with the numbers they come back with. But so I just tried a new one, DataFlick. So we tested that one out and it seemed to do pretty well and it was a lot less expensive. But I'm probably have to test it a little bit more just to make sure. But yeah, so for pulling lists, yeah, we'll do PropStream or Batch. Not really. So Batch we usually just skip tracing. We stopped using them, but to me they're all pretty similar. But yeah, so we'll use that. And the only other system we use is our CRM, which is REI bought CRM, which we built ourselves on off Go High Level, and we use that for like all our text and voicemails and calls and keeping track of everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. I use Go High Level also.
Mhm.
So you're using DataFlick or Batch or PropStream, one of them, to get
Mhm.
skip tracing. You're just going to the county directly for your actual list. And then I'm assuming
Mhm.
you're uploading that list into whatever system you're using for the skip trace to pull the numbers. And then that's going into GHL for your auto responding, voicemail drop, automations and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's we will sometimes we'll pull lists too off of like PropStream and or for places like Batch or because they do have like good data on there. It just depends if you're in like a super competitive market, it can be a lot harder because everybody else can pull that list too pretty easily. So that's typically why I like to do the county records first because it's a bit more work. So not as many people do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was actually pulling list pendants directly from the county, uploading
Mhm.
them and then putting them into the system. Or I pulled some from batch and then I just cross-referenced and made sure, okay, are these, because if you're pulling list pendants, for example, you want to make sure that you're not pulling a list pendants with people in the middle of a bankruptcy, because half the time they're
Mhm.
not gonna, be able to or even want to sell their homes.
Right.
So what advice would you have for anybody, I guess just starting out in real estate investing? And I know you
Mhm.
primarily do wholesaling, but do you have any other ideas or would say this is probably a better way to go or whatever?
Yeah, I'd say probably my recommendation probably be to start with wholesaling, just to get comfortable talking to sellers, and then you can get the best deals and keep them for yourself. So if you're going to fix and flip, you can have a lot more room for error if you have the deal at a significant discount. But I think that's my whole strategy is just to really get build our wholesaling company, because I think we control the deal flow, and we have the deals coming to us first. It just gives us a lot more options. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and just like I said before, just keep being persistent until you get there, because it gets easier, but you just got to consistently keep doing the work every day.
Yep. Yeah, it definitely, this isn't something that somebody, I mean, you can do it part-time, but it's really something if you're wanting to make a career out of it and like have this be your primary thing. The cool thing is you're doing it virtually, right? So you
Mhm.
could be sitting in, Bali right now doing
Yeah,
your wholesaling business if you really wanted to be. And for me, that's the ultimate freedom, right? Being able to be wherever I want to be, whenever I want to be there. So are you using virtual assistants for any of it, or are you doing everything yourself?
so we are, and we've gone through a few that start off real strong, and then probably because I wasn't doing a great job managing them, they kind of fell off. But we've had one VA who's been with us for quite a while now, I think almost a year. But yeah, Santi, he's great. He does like a lot of our data stuff, so he'll like research LLCs for us if the property's owned by an LLC, or if we're looking for buyers, it's usually a bit more work to find out who the LLC is. So he does that for us, and he'll pull lists for us, and he'll clean up all the data for us, and he just does like a lot of the manual entry stuff. We did have dialers before, and we'll probably end up hiring a cold caller again soon. But yeah, like I said, we had some before, and they started off real strong. Then like a month or two later, they kind of like fell off. So
Yeah. Yeah, same. It's like you got to just be consistent with training them and scripting and script practicing. Where do you get, because I know that you do once in a while online hold some, Facebook Lives and stuff like that,
mhm.
Q&As. Where did you get your scripts from, or did you come up with your own scripts?
I came up with myself. Yeah, I've looked at like other people's scripts too, and just kind of modeled some what they were doing. But yeah, I've been in sales since I was 18, and yeah, I've always loved sales, and I've read pretty much every sales book that I could find. And yeah, I like writing scripts and doing all that. The fun thing I did the other day was I used Chat GPT to make a script, um, because you can do a lot of cool stuff with Chat GPT. So I told it to summarize my two favorite books in sales. So it's like The Way of the Wolf, or yeah, the Jordan Belfort's book, whatever it's called, the Straight Line one, and then the Chris Voss book, the Never Split the Difference. So I said, hey, summarize each of those books, and then I said, okay, using what you know about those books, create a script for wholesaling. And it was pretty great, and I
Oh,
still had to
that's awesome.
tweak it a bit. And I said, hey, create one for subject two, and it did. And then, but yeah, it banged out like 7 or 8 scripts for me in like 10 minutes or 5 minutes, and then I just had to go through and tweak it.
That's awesome. I love that. I know I actually use ChatGPT for letters and emails and stuff like that to people that are going into foreclosure, got list pendants, and the letter was amazing. Like way better than
Yeah,
what I would have ever written. So ChatGPT is definitely, our friend in any business, but it's awesome. Any final thoughts on like, for people getting started? This was super helpful, with the tools that you're using and the things that you're doing and stuff like that. Any final thoughts that you want to say when it comes to real estate investing or wholesaling or sales or anything?
yeah, for sure. So yeah, one thing for me is just taking it one day at a time and just really focusing on winning the day. So something that really works well for me is power blocking. So I'll set like a 2 hour window, and I'll put it in my calendar, and say, hey, just for these 2 hours, all I'm going to do is prospect and talk to sellers. And then there's literally my door's closed. My wife knows. Just leave me alone for those 2 hours, and my phone's on do not disturb, and my cell phone's away from me. So literally cut out all distractions, and then just for 2 hours, I'll just prospect. And I find I get so much better results doing it that way than before. I'd be like, oh, I'll do it over an 8 hour shift and not really be structured or focused. Because literally what would take me 8 hours to do, I get done in that 2 hour block. And usually I'm able to get more done in that 2 hour block. So yeah, just use focus, be consistent, plan out your day, and you're going to crush it.
Exactly. Yes. Having a schedule, making sure you have your prospecting time in, and sticking to that
Mhm.
prospecting time. And then also one thing I want to add to that is, because I was a hardcore cold caller for many years. When I sold real estate, expired FSBOs just listed, just sold. I used to door knock the Liz pendants. I would pull them from the county, door knock them. That was back in 2008 when I was doing a lot of that. But lead follow-up's huge too. So
Yeah.
when you set your 2-hour block, let's just say, of phone prospecting, that should be your prospecting. You need to then set another 30, 45-minute block for your lead follow-up. Because a lot of times people will, generate the leads, but the money's in the follow-up, and that's where they miss the mark,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I like to do it at least twice a day with my follow-ups. That's where all the money is. And that's really the whole point of prospecting, is to build your pipeline so you have those people to follow up with.
Exactly.
But yeah, I like to do that once in the morning, then once at night again. All like my hot leads I'll follow up with, and all my ones to follow up with. And then having that prospecting block in the middle really sets me up for success.
Absolutely. Is there a certain time where you find you hit the most, get the most people?
Yeah, for me, I like 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. I know it's like a harder shift for most people, but for me, that's when most people are home, they're not at work, and they're done for the day. But really, it's just whatever time you can be consistent to. I mean, I think that works a little bit better, but I think all times work if you're willing to do the work, as long as you're not calling people at like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah. When I used to prospect, it was every day. It was 8 to 11, and that included my lead follow-up time. But I had, little kids, right? So a couple of things, I couldn't prospect at night. I mean, I could if I really wanted to, but I didn't want to. So you got to find a time that fits within your schedule, but you also have to find a time where I call it like that book, Eat the Frog. Most people don't want to prospect, right? And so if you're one of those that says, oh, I'm going to do it later, you'll find a gazillion reasons why your day got away from you and you're not able to do it. So if you can do it at night, you're 100% going to get more people at night. If you cannot do it at night because you're just not going to do it, then do it in the mornings. And then maybe once a week is your late night. You have a late night, block on Wednesdays or Tuesdays or whatever the case may be. So.
Yeah, that's great. And that's an awesome book too.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I love that book. All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Everybody, that wants to get into real estate investing can check you out on social media, because you do have some cool lives. Are those for like the general public or just people like in your group?
Yeah, so some of them we'll blast out just to everywhere, but most of the stuff's going down in our Facebook group. It's Real Estate Wholesaling Syndicate. And we do a bunch of free trainings. We have like different people come in every week. I'd love to have you come on too. So we usually do them like every Friday, and we'll have either myself or different guest speakers I know that are super knowledgeable about real estate. And we do a lot of cool stuff in there.
Absolutely. I would love to be on. If anybody wants to, check you out online, or has any other questions or whatever, he is the go-to for wholesaling. I love that you have that specific niche, and thank you for being on, Kai. I know a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this.
Well, thanks so much for having me. This is great. I really appreciate it.
All right, everybody, don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're watching this on YouTube, Real Estate Secrets Unlocked. I really appreciate it, and have a great day, everybody. All right, cool. So I will have that edited, and then I'll send you also an email with just kind of like a breakdown on those different loans if you know of anybody, or even if Bree comes across investors that need short-term rentals. Like we have Airbnb financing, the DSCR loans for Airbnb, and DSCR for long-term rentals too. So
awesome. And what state are you guys lending in? Is it all?
We're in pretty much every state. There's a few that we're not, so I'll put the states that we're not licensed in. But I have different lenders for almost every state nationwide. So
cool.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, and just let me know, when the podcast is going out, and I'll help share it out and stuff to you.
Okay, awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Of course, yeah. Thanks again for having me on.
All right, I'll see you later. Tell Bree I said hi.
All right, I will. Bye.
Bye. Well, that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Real Estate Secrets Unlocked. Don't forget to subscribe to our show on your favorite platform, and we would love your feedback. Check us out on social and let me know what topics you want more of. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and our show. I'm your host, Danielle Damianov, and until next time, stay motivated, stay excited, and keep growing in this crazy world of real estate. Thanks for listening to Real Estate Secrets Unlocked.